Welcome to Defending Digital. I'm Chad Werner. Today I'd like to show you how to increase the security and privacy of your Android device. I'm going to be using a Google Pixel 3 running Android 10, so the settings and steps that you see may differ based on your device and the version of Android that you are running. Let's start in the Android settings. So we're going to go open the Settings app, and let's go through Connected Devices. And you want to disable any connections that you're not using right now, just to decrease the ways that your device could be compromised, as well as the ways that your location could be tracked. So you can go through here and go through any of the connection types and toggle those off if you don't need them. Then hit the back button here until you get back to Settings, and let's go to Apps and Notifications, and then See All Apps. And you can go through this list and uninstall anything that you don't truly need. So you'll tap on the app, and if it can be uninstalled, you'll see an uninstall option. If it can't, then you may see a disable option. So for pre-installed apps, they can't be uninstalled like this one, but they can be disabled, and so you can choose to do that. So go through that list and clean that up. Then go back to Apps and Notifications, and you'll see Permission Manager. And there are several categories of permissions that apps can have. So let's look at camera. For example, you've got 3 that have access to the camera and 3 that don't. You can tap on any of these and change what permissions they have. So just make sure that only the apps that really need those permissions have them. All right, back to Apps and Notifications, and then Advanced. And you'll see emergency alerts here. So you can toggle on or off any of the emergency alerts that you want to receive. And I recommend having them all on. If there's one you don't want, I guess you can toggle that off. All right, and then here we go back to the settings screen. And next we're going to go into display. All right, and next tap screen timeout. And I recommend setting this to a minute or less. And what that will do is when we set a lock screen in a bit, then that will cause your device to automatically lock when you are not using it for a certain amount of time. And that will just prevent someone from being able to just pick it up and use your device. So I recommend setting this to a minute or less. And then you've got Advanced, so tap that, and Lock Screen Display. So then you've got Lock Screen, and you can choose what kind of notifications to show. And I recommend choosing Don't Show Notifications at all, because notifications can reveal sensitive data, things like messages or calendar reminders. You don't need those showing on your lock screen for just anyone to see. Then you've got Lock Screen Message. So this is an optional message that will show on the lock screen. And I recommend putting something here in case you lose your device, a Good Samaritan finds it, that will tell them how to contact you. So putting something like a phone number or an email address. Do not put your home address or work address or somewhere that they could physically locate you, but some way to get in touch with you. All right, and then we're going to go all the way back to the settings screen and into privacy. All right, and then you've got an option here to autofill service from Google. So if you want your device to automatically fill in personal info and addresses and passwords for you, payment methods, then you can configure that here. If you have this enabled and you don't want it enabled anymore, I'll show you how to do that in a minute, but that's where you can set that. Then you can tap Advanced, and you have Activity Control. So this gives you a lot of control. Basically just opens up your Google account and lets you go through and disable any of the options of data that Google is collecting and storing inside your Google account. So I like to turn off everything possible in here. I have a whole separate guide that walks through that, so you can find that at defendingdigital.com. It is the Google Account Security and Privacy Guide. So I'm not going to go through all of the steps to that right here, because you can find more information there, but go through and configure that how you want, or check out that guide. And then you've got an option for ads here, and I do recommend that you opt out of ads personalization. Basically just makes the ads less targeted. You'll still get ads, but they're not going to be targeted to you specifically. All right, and then you've got usage and diagnostics. I generally like to share data that helps make software and services better as long as the data is anonymized. So you can choose to enable or disable that after you check out how that works. All right, back to the settings screen, and let's look at location. So if you do not want your device to use location at all, then you can toggle that off. But note that that would disable the option to find my device, which is what lets you remotely locate, lock, and wipe your device. So if you do want to have that functionality, you can leave that on and then just lock down what apps and services can use location. So you can go through here to app permission. This is basically the same thing we saw a minute ago with what has access to location. There's also Wi-Fi and Bluetooth scanning, and this basically makes location more accurate, but it does mean that your device will be sending out Wi-Fi and Bluetooth signals even when you have Wi-Fi turned off and Bluetooth turned off. So I don't like that. I recommend turning that off. If you really need to have those on, you can set those to be on. All right, let's go back to settings, and next stop is security. All right, then you've got Google Play Protect. So I recommend tapping this and then making sure, let's see, so this is, okay, we're going to set the gear here for settings, and then toggle both of these on, scan apps with Play Protect and improve harmful app detection. That just makes it safer to use apps from the Play Store. And we'll go back here to security. All right, let's get back to security here. All right, and then find my device. So here is, you can enable this if you want the ability to find your device remotely, lock it, wipe it. So you can enable that here. And then you can go back to security. You'll see security update, and I recommend tapping this. Just make sure that your device is up to date. So it'll check, and if you do see an update that is available, install that. All right, let's go back. All right, now you've got an option for screen lock. And there are various ways that you can lock your screen. Swiping may as well not even be called a lock. It basically just, you run your finger across the screen and it unlocks. So anyone can do that. Don't recommend doing that. You can do a pattern, a PIN, or a password. A long, complex password is going to be great, but it is very annoying to have to type that in every time you want to unlock your device. So you can do something like a PIN. I would recommend doing at least 6 digits. The longer, the better. 4 digits are just too easy to guess. A pattern, if you do that, just make sure that it's complex, so you have multiple points in your pattern. So choose one of those options. Make sure that that's set up. Go back here and fingerprint. So you can choose if you want to use fingerprint along with one of these other options, and go ahead and set that up as well. A lot more convenient to be able to just use your fingerprint than having to type in a password or PIN or draw a pattern. All right, then if you scroll down and tap Advanced, and you'll see Encryption and Credentials. All right, if you do not see encrypted here, so this is showing that the device is already encrypted. If you don't see that, then you want to tap this here and encrypt, and go through the options to encrypt your device. It's one of the best things you can do to secure it, because it means that if someone does steal your device or finds it, they're not gonna be able to see or copy data off of it because it's encrypted. All right, let's jump back to settings, and next stop is accounts. All right, so Android is meant to be used with a Google account. If you do sign into a Google account, you'll have many more options than if you use it without a Google account, but it is possible to use without a Google account. Another option, if you kind of want to decouple your Android device from your Google account, is to create a separate Google account and use that just for Android, and not have that intermingled with the your other Google account. So I've got a Google account set up here. What you can do is choose to automatically sync data, and this is just kind of a general option for letting apps automatically sync with that account. Now, if you want to fine tune that, you can tap the name of your account and then account sync. All right, and you'll see a list of things here. So because, let's see, go back here. So if I turn that back on. All right, so depending on how yours is set up, you may see more options here and be able to toggle these on and off. So you can choose specifically what things are we going to be syncing with your Google account. Jump back here, disable that, all right. Okay, let's go back to settings and now to Google. All right, and then you're going to be viewing your Google account here. And next, let's click tap Account Services and then Connected Apps. So you'll see the apps and devices that are connected to your Google account. If any of these should be disconnected, you can tap them and then disconnect them. All right, back on Account Services. All right, so at the bottom here, you've got Search, Assistant, and Voice. And then Google Assistant. So as you may know, this is Google's digital assistant. It's like Amazon's Alexa or Apple's Siri. So in order to work, Google Assistant sends a lot of data about what you say and type and do on your device over to Google. So if you don't want to use it, you can go to the Assistant tab and scroll down to Assistant Devices, and you'll see your device listed there. So tap that. And then you can toggle that off. So I've done that already here. So that's just kind of a complete off switch for the Google Assistant. If you do want to use Google Assistant, then you can go back here and go through the settings here in Google Assistant as well as voice. There's a bunch of different settings for how Google Assistant will work on this device. And then back to Google. And you can scroll down here, and if you're going to be having a child use your device, then you can go to Parental Controls, and this lets you use Google's Family link. This lets you control apps and content and screen time, so you can walk through setting that up if you choose. All right, let's go back to Settings and down to System. All right, now a few minutes ago, we looked at the Autofill service from Google, which automatically fills in personal info, addresses, and passwords. If you do not want to use that, you can go to Languages and Input, and then Advanced, and then Autofill Service, and Autofill Service again. And if you had it enabled, you would see it set to Google here. If you do not want that anymore, you can just set it to None. All right, let's go back to System, and you'll see Backup. And you've got an option there to back up to Google Drive. So I recommend toggling that on, unless you're going to be using some other backup service. As long as you're running Android 9, which is Pi or later, Google is not able to see your backup data because the data is put in Google Drive, but it's encrypted using your lock screen PIN, pattern, or password. And so Google is not able to see your backup data. So as long as you're using Android 9 or later, that's fine to use. If you're using an earlier version, you may want to consider using a different backup system that would not allow Google to see your data. All right, let's go back here. Okay, so that is all the settings that we're going to look at. And then updating apps. So it's a good idea to keep your apps updated. Updates often fix security vulnerabilities, so I recommend installing them as soon as you are able. You can set that up. So if you go to Google Play and the menu, Settings, and Notifications. So here, I recommend toggling this on so that you are notified when there are updates available. And then back here on Settings, Auto Update Apps. So have this set to either over Wi-Fi only, if you use Wi-Fi often enough. If your device rarely connects to Wi-Fi, then set it to over any network. So do make sure that you are installing those updates. All right, some other pieces of information. So messaging, if you're using just standard text messages, SMS, those are not secure. So if you're communicating about anything that's sensitive or confidential, consider using a secure private messaging app instead, something like Signal or Wire. And I have links to those in the blog post that goes along with this video at defendingdigital.com. In terms of anti-malware, if you're careful with how you use your device, you probably don't need any kind of anti-malware or antivirus software on your Android device. If you want it, then I've got links to the ones that have earned the best test results from AV Comparatives and AV Test. So I've got a list of those, again, in that blog post. Some are free, some are paid. Bitdefender's software has consistently earned high ratings over many years, so I do recommend Bitdefender's products. So other advice for just using an Android safely. As you install new software, make sure to watch out for permissions that you're granting. Be really careful about permissions you give. Get your apps from inside of Google Play rather than just from anywhere online. They're more vetted inside of Google Play. Don't use public Wi-Fi for anything that's sensitive because that's an insecure, untrusted network. It's much safer to just use your device's mobile or cellular data. If you do need to use public Wi-Fi, use a VPN, something like Proton VPN, to protect your traffic. Chrome is the default browser on an Android, and it's a secure browser. It's not a private one because of how much Google can monitor your use and data that they can collect about you. So a more private browser would be something like Firefox or Firefox Focus, Brave, or DuckDuckGo, privacy browser. If you do use Chrome as your browser, then I do have a Chrome security and privacy guide. So let me pull that up here. So that's the Google account one. And then I've also got one on Google Chrome security and privacy. So you can walk through that, and that will show you how to at least reclaim some of your privacy if you do want to use Chrome. As you are using your device, make sure to disable any connections that you don't need, things like Bluetooth or NFC or Wi-Fi. So the easiest way to do that is just right in your quick settings. You can just drag down, tap to disable. You can switch on airplane mode to just kind of disable them all at a time. But keep an eye on what connections you're using over time. Regularly go through and delete any unnecessary apps just to decrease the ways your device can be compromised. Android is part of the Google ecosystem. I've already mentioned that Google account guide, so I would go through that and lock down the overall security and privacy of your Google account. And that will also walk you through just securing your Google account as well to make it less likely for someone to hack into it. You may have heard of people rooting an Android device basically to get more access to it and do more things with it. Unfortunately, that does make an Android device less secure because it removes a lot of the protections that Google has built in. So unless you really know what you're doing, don't root your device. Manufacturers of Android devices, there are many manufacturers, and they vary in how quickly they push updates out to devices, as well as how long they support devices once they are out there being used. So I recommend if you are able, when you're getting a new device, choose a Google Pixel phone. Those are directly from Google. They're not through another manufacturer like Samsung, because Google updates those very quickly. They maintain them. You don't have those kind of layers of waiting to go through manufacturers. They also have a lot less junk installed on them than devices from third-party manufacturers. If you want to, you can look for a refurbished or used Pixel phone if you want to save money. And then before you sell or donate your Android device, you want to make sure that if you haven't already, you encrypt it. So we went through that earlier. And then you want to go through a factory reset. So you can do that in Settings, System, and Advanced Reset Options. All right, and then you'll see erase all data factory reset. And it's just letting you know that this is going to erase all data. So between encryption and erasing all your data, you can then feel better about selling or giving away your device. All right, so you can, again, learn more there's a written version of this guide that has some screenshots. You can find that at defendingdigital.com. You can also go through other security and privacy guides. So you can find those at defendingdigital.com and just click at the top on resources.